Thank you so much. I apologize for the shopping. We tried to do it from the sukkah, but the Wi-Fi in the sukkah didn't work so well. So I'm doing it here. But a wonderful sukkah to everyone. Okay, yeah, we got a lot to cover here. So, I always point out in Masechet Kiddushin, even though it starts out a little bit, Ha'isha nikneit. What can I say about that? Woman is purchased, but I like to point out the empowerment parts for women and even children. And so on Mem Vav Amud Aleph, it talks about Kanash and Kadsha. It talks about a child, right? This is going back to last Thursday, Mem Vav 46a. The child that was became betrothed, but Bain he uvein avia yecholim la'akev. Both she and her father can reverse this. Now, of course, a katana doesn't really have kiddushin, but and there's a lot to be discussed here. But at least it recognizes, and there's a Tosfot there on Mem Vav Amud Aleph if you want to see. It recognizes that when the daughter does not want this marriage to take place, it is significant. So the woman's desire, whether she's now a Bokeret Gdolah, she's older now, whatever, it is significant. And Tosfos says, Kevan debito me'akevet chov hu lo, that since the daughter does not want this marriage to take place, you cannot say that the father is happy. So that it's a zachi in the case of meriting the father. So I like to point this out that definitely I think it's honest to say that even the Talmud is not anachronistic. Even the Talmud way back 1,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, is taking account of the desire of the woman to get married. So it's not some modern romantic notion of marriage that it's about love and desire. It goes way back. I could date it back to Song of Songs or even the Tanakh, even before that, even Breshit, but certainly here we see that issue. Now we get to on the Mishnah, which Homer now talks about getting married with a date, the fruit, a date, not just a ring that we use nowadays. Now, I always like to point out, it's always confusing, is Tamar, and Te'ina. Tamar is a date, Te'ina is a fig. And how do you know that Tamar is a date? Sometimes it's confusing. So I had in a Gemara Chabura that I was in says, you go on a date with Tamar. So, because actually Te'ina, women don't have that name, Te'ina. I've never heard of anyone be called Te'ina. There might be, and if you put it in the chat, if you found someone who's named Te'ina. But in general, Tamar, so you go on a date with Tamar, so you remember Tamar is a date. In any case, nothing to do with the Mishnah here, but it is important that is this date worth and each date worth a pruta and that kind of thing. And then it gets to, I see there's a little bit of humor if she actually eats the date. And if she eats the date, it becomes like it's a loan and hamakadish b'malva eina mikudeshet. It doesn't work. So don't eat the date, don't swallow the ring, anything like that. That will slow things down. And then we get to a part on 46b of that if you mekadesh achoto, if you betroth your sister, okay, maybe you're just playing around or something, then does it count? Is it a gift, that ring that you gave, because it was something ridiculous, or does the sister get to keep it? Was it a gift? So there's a whole issue kind of here of what is a gift, what is transference, and what is a transfer of property and what is not. And towards the end of 46b, we talked about that if you take challah, right? Challah is like, we think about Shabbos, the bread, but it's really the little gift of dough that we give the priests in the old days. Nowadays, whatever, we don't do, we burn it. But it's got to be from the dough, or it can't be from the flour. So let's say you give some from the flour, Eina chala, the gezel biad kohen. If the kohen takes it, it's stealing it. So again, this idea that things that sometimes are a gift can sometimes become not a gift at all, and they have no right to it. In 47A, lots of fruits and nuts are mentioned. There's a pomegranate come into it, nuts come into it. Egos is a walnut. By the way, we just had Rosh Hashanah. There's a custom of not eating egozim on Rosh Hashanah because the gematria, not eating walnuts, because the gematria, the numerical equivalent of the letters, numerical value of the letters, is the same as chet, same as sin. So there's it goes and basically on 47A it tries to work out this idea of a loan is not a gift. So a loan is not a gift. Then the question comes up, still on 47B, that or on the bottom 47A and the top of 47B, let's say a person says, betrothed to me with a picadon, like I gave you something to watch that belongs to me that you are watching, the dishwasher, it's your, whatever it is, I'm giving you an objet d'art or something. It's your, that will be the item that gets us married, that does kiddushin. But let's say, and I don't know, I'm seeing this a little bit. I don't know why I find it kind of funny or interesting, but it's stolen. Oh no, or it's missing. And then it's a whole issue there. How much is remaining of it? Interesting. Along the way, we discover that if you borrow something, you kind of you kind of have ownership of that. So let's say you rent a car, rent a little different, but someone lends you their car for a month, that has value. But if you don't drive the car, if you haven't gotten in the car and driven it yet, you have not purchased it. So if you want to say to your beloved that I'm getting married to you using the value of this car that I have borrowed, you have to at least have driven it once, maybe to the wedding hall in Las Vegas or something. 48A, we are in 48A. Really interesting idea of you have a star, you have a document, maybe it's not a valid document, but is that paper that it's written on, not worth the paper it's written on, right? You've heard that expression. So maybe, but that assumes that the paper has some value. So it's a machlok, it's a disagreement whether you have something very important written on paper, does the paper, but it's not appropriate for, let's say, kiddushin, even though, of course, we learned before that one of the ways of making betrothal work is a star. But if it's the wrong star, big question, is it, do you say the paper has value or not? This sort of comes up with muktzah, money on Shabbat. Are you allowed to, you're not supposed to traditionally touch money on Shabbat because it's muktzah, but has kind of no value. But, paper has some value. I've made little notes to myself on a lot of different pieces of paper. My wife Rachel jokes. Once I had to write something down. All I could find was my birth certificate, so I wrote something on the back of that. And money you could definitely use. A coin has value. I think the copper in a penny is worth more than a penny. So in any case, it seems that since money, the main thing is not the value of the paper or the copper, but is the coin value, the monetary value. So therefore, that's why on Shabbat, you can't touch it because we're not thinking about the value, this piece of paper to whatever, stuff in some corner or something, but we're thinking about the value of the money, and money you don't traditionally use on Shabbat. So any case, we start talking a lot about Lishma and Loli shama is written in with the intention of getting married or not, and so that's a whole issue. But then we get to on 48B, a little bit of empowerment, women's empowerment, and that is if the husband to be says, I want to get married to you, bischar shasiti imach, using the value of the work that I did for you last week. I, fixed your dishwasher, or I fixed the car or whatever. that doesn't count. But let's say the man says, I am going to work and fix your car or fix your dishwasher or paint your house next week. And the value of that I'm giving to you, and I want to get married through the value of that, then it's a machloket. Maybe, but then that's a loan again, and you can't, work it. So it's a machloket. Rabbi Natan disagrees, says no, but Chachamim say yes. And also the question, anyway, that's good enough for that. I love on 48b, the Mishnah, this I call replacement theology. I mean, something totally out of context and Christianity and all that. But here it's replacement marriage. So I say, get married to me with this beautiful wine here. And it turns there isn't wine in the cup, it's honey, it's dvash. Really love this kind of issue. And that's, by the way, why we traditionally get married with a plain ring, gold, platinum, even silver is fine, but not with a stone, because you might not know, you might think, oh, I'm getting married to a stone, this beautiful diamond's worth $10,000, and it's really a cheap cubic zirconium. I don't know if people even have that anymore, but it's a cubic zirconium ring. It's worth $10 or $1. Oh my gosh, you see so many ads for that on television. So in any case, that's why we don't use that little that's why we don't put a diamond on it, because we want it to be like, this is a gold ring, it's plain gold, there's a set value, no expectation. When I do a wedding, I say, do you accept this, this ring? It could be even worth just a pruta. You're doing it almana just a pruta. But that's really the discussion in the next couple of dapim. But 48a and 48b, lovely idea of, I say this is wine and it turns out it's vinegar. Or let's say I say I'm going to marry you with this cup of vinegar. Okay, it's worth a pruta. And it turns out it's fine wine, French wine, whatever, fine Israeli wine or California wine, whatever it is. And you'd think that that's okay. She thought it was worth, 10 cents, and it's really worth $100 a cup of wine. But some people like vinegar. So there's a whole really, really because of some people like silver more than gold, maybe the equivalent value, but they'd rather be paid in silver than gold. So what a great concept of people. Who are we to assume who likes what? What is more valuable to someone? So so that's sort of an interesting, I love that take on a bigger question. 49a, we touch on Gittin, nostalgia for divorces, and there's a get Mekushar, get Pashut, different kind of divorce documents, a way of doing it, plain straight piece of paper or tied, and then we get, so it's a question who likes what, and same kind of idea. That it all, a document, it's got to be what people prefer. It's all right, no worries, but that gets into get. Then I really love, there's a lot of talk on 49a about honesty. That someone says, oh, I am from very good yichus lineage, I am a Kohen, they're really a Levi. But someone might say, I'm a Levi, and they're really a Kohen. That's even more precise. Whatever it is, someone might say, I'm a mamzer, and then really they're not a mamzer. They're a little bit better than a mamzer, something like that. There's a real discussion that no, honesty is important, and even if you think that you're being modest by saying I'm a nobody, you're not there to be honest. Be honest. Don't be so modest. Be honest. From 6 lines from the bottom, we get awesome. This is great stuff. And this is just look, I think the Gemara is just having a fun. I am a Baal Koreh. I read Torah and Shul. Well, if we see they're really a good Baal Koreh, they're not just showing off that they can read the Torah. They can read 3 verses in the Torah in Shul. Got to be public because people are nervous, then that's good. Then maybe a higher level, you have to read it and translate it, and all sorts of things. It's really great, and we're having a lot of fun. 49b continues and says, oh, I'm marrying you, again, giving you the gift, but also you're assuming I am rich. I'm a rich person. And the questions people now, this is like, we're not political here, of course, my Jewish learning, but Donald Trump, that was his big thing. I'm rich. I'm so rich. I'm rich. I'm rich. We'll see what happens. So just made me think of that. Even better, 49b, Almanachani Tzaddik. I'm marrying you that I am tzaddik. And that this guy is worthless, terrible person, not a righteous person at all. But we say, you know what? It might work. That Kiddushi might not have been a lie, because maybe he was Maharer Tshuva. Maybe he did repentance quietly, and the power of repentance, so appropriate for this season of Yom Kippur. Our repentance is amazing. But I love the other way. And this is why they have a good sense of humor. Let's say if someone says, I'm marrying you because I'm a evil person, and everyone thinks, well, he's such a tzaddik. That's a lie. What a lie. Now, I think there's a Star Trek about that if he's telling a lie, then obviously he's not righteous or whatever. But in any case, even if he says I'm evil, and everyone thinks he's a tzaddik, and we know he gives to the poor, but maybe shema hirher avodah zara. Maybe deep down in his mind, he was thinking avodah zara, idolatry. So then we get on 49b, like a lot of this, like Maisalach Agadata stories, not stories about how blessed Israel is, Bavel. By the way, it talks about Elam, that arrogance came to Elam. What is Elam? I looked a lot about it. And apparently, it's Susia, it's Shushan, it's Persia. So Persia got a lot of arrogance, and they say, well, didn't Babylon get some arrogance? Yeah, it got a little bit of arrogance. Then it sort of deteriorates into slaves and this and that. Rav Ovadia Yosef of blessed memory used to give brilliant, not only Torah scholar, but posek, halachic authority. But on Saturday nights, he would give these kind of lectures that were just filled with, I don't know, silly. I would just say they're silly. But we talk about why did this country get a flood, and then earth, all sorts of silliness. But in any case, it's entertaining. So, the end of 49b talks about someone wanted to make aliyah, but didn't tell anybody. And then we get into the whole kind of thing that what is in your heart. And then 50a, very, very, very important. We get to the concept of begite nashim uv'shichure avadim when it comes to divorce and releasing slaves under certain circumstances. Kofin oto ad yomar rotzeani. We beat the living daylights out of him until he says, I want to do it. So you need the person for a get, of course, the husband to say, I want to do this. I'm doing it by my own free will. But sometimes that's kind of hard to get. Sometimes the person is covered with all sorts of layers of issues that don't let his true, beautiful spirit come through and say, I want to do this, or I want to release my slaves. And the court says, maybe you're not behaving properly to your slaves. Maybe you're not behaving properly to your wife. You got to divorce her. I'm going to force you. So I guess, not interrogation. Someone on the line, whatever it's called, wasn't called intense interrogation, but it was called basically what we used to call torture. Was called some kind of interrogation, enhanced interrogation, I think. And in memory of Senator Dianne Feinstein of blessed memory, she was one who fought against the CIA torturing people using enhanced interrogation to get stuff out of them. It's not even clear how that works. But in any case, there is this concept that the Beit Din used to, when they had the authority, force the husband to release his thinking, kofinoto yomar rotzani. So So in any case, that is very important idea that we actually do not have with marriage these days, with divorce, because our state does not allow our courts. And I'm kind of glad that the Jewish courts don't have that power to beat someone and using enhanced interrogation to get it out of them. You remember there always, you could read on the news, years ago, there were cases of that they really did. They beat the husband to give the divorce to the wife. But since we don't have this anymore in practice, we can't do it anymore. Then we really have to figure out, I'm on a soapbox here, how to make sure that when the husband should divorce his wife, frankly, the other way around, sometimes a wife does not want to accept a divorce, and she should. How do we use our Jewish judicial system to make that happen? It's a big problem mainly with an orthodoxy. And so that's something else. But this is a very critical idea that, ein adam chote ella shenichnas bo ruach shtut, that a person only sins because some mishigas, some silliness got into them, that really deep down we're all good people, our souls are good, but some mishigas got, was covering it up. So if you beat him enough, and that what he really should be doing is listening to the rabbis, then you'll get him to listen to the rabbis. Okay, enough on that. 50b comes another big part, right on the top of 50b, and that is, let's say someone has a marriage that, whatever, the erusin, the kiddushin don't work, but then sends them a gift that seems to confirm, and the gift could count as kiddushin. So it was less than a pruta, whatever it was, a sister, but then sends the husband, the wannabe husband sends a gift of $1,000, a ring, and in front of witnesses to the wife to be. Does that count? Very important idea, and Rashi says it. Elam rina machmat kiddushin harishonim shalach. Rashi on the very top of the page says that this gift that he sends is based on that he thinks that the first kiddushin counted, and we know they didn't count, so it's not valid. This is the principle that Rav Moshe Feinstein, the great halachic decider, Orthodox decider, who was incredible, and gave an incredible ruling, which was very helpful for solving the problem of a mamzerim. I don't want to go maybe not too much detail, but what he did was sort of something that sounds very nasty. He said, reform conservative weddings, they're not good, they're not valid, they're whatever reason, was not a fan of, he was not a pluralist, but he said they're not valid. But by saying that, by basically demeaning reform and conservative rabbis and all that, what he did is he said that those kiddushin don't count, and therefore, if they remarry without giving a get, their children that are born after that are not mamzerim. So very helpful, even though it came from sort of a kind of a nasty kind of place. But anyway, what the challenge was that, look, okay, the Reform rabbi marries them without an Orthodox system that you would accept. But then they're living together for 10 years. Of course, they consider themselves married. So, of course, that should be considered, that's marriage afterwards. Okay, the first, whatever, you don't like to accept what the Reform rabbi did. But so that was the challenge. And Rav Elia Henkin really disagreed with that and said, no, they're living there for 10 years. Of course, they're married. Rav Moshe Feinstein relied on this Rashi and this concept that, no, any living together, they're married, they have kids, they go on vacation, they're married, they have relations, intimate relations. That's all based on that original marriage from the Reform rabbi that he didn't accept. So this doesn't count. So that's sort of based on this, take it or leave it. But then we get 50b, lots of marrying sister, lots of complicated sisters trying to marry sisters. At Nun Aleph of 51b, I'd say again, it's like I'll call it mixed marriages. That you're kind of using the gift, you're using meiser, using tithes, you're using uh, things that were not tithed properly, using all sorts of sacrifices, all sorts of mixed gifts that you're trying to count for the kiddushin that don't really work. So a lot of mixes and 52A was mixed ages, but a lot of gittin have to be written. If you two brothers, two men marry two sisters and don't say which one, each man has to write two gittin, a get for each sister. So you have four gittin. So the Beit Din is very busy doing all this stuff. So that's and then 51, 52, more confusion with chalitza, and we get five gittin that have to be written. A little bit of empowerment on 52A, where one woman can empower another woman to be a messenger. So I like to highlight these little things of empowerment of women. And then get to the idea of stealing. Can you use something stolen to be your gift that you give to the woman to do kiddushin? And in general, Gezel Shabiajo Eino Mamono. If you have something stolen, it's not yours. Seems pretty straightforward. But let's say, and they're going to argue with that. Maybe someone that lost something gives up hope, Yiush, so then it becomes yours. But the main thing is that Gezel Dida, we're talking about, he stole lots of marriage counseling necessary for this, but he stole money from his wife to be, and he wants that to count as the kiddushin. So he stole the ring from his wife to be, and she knows that. If she accepts the ring, what we say is that really she's moichel. Oh, my little Shloimela, what a little thief. I love him to death. I'll marry him. So, okay. Look, who am I to decide? But anyway, there's that's now then we get to today's daf. 53A, Oy Gaval, lots of exciting stuff coming up because we have the whole idea of, can priests, we kind of got to the idea, like, can a priest get married, a Kohen get married with Meiser, with their tithes and all that kind of stuff. And then we get to the idea, like the Kohanim that are working in the temple, they get certain rights to a lot of meat, and they also get some of the grain offerings. And does this meat belong to them? No, we say that it's Legavoha, that it belongs to God. Meiser and even tithes are mamon gavoahu, are belong to God. So really issues here of, I'm not allowed to trade stuff that belongs to God. It belongs to me. Really interesting concept, I think, of mixing ritual and what's so holy with sort of mundane horse trading. Not horses, but horse trading. But I kind of think that it's a beautiful idea, and getting very current, our Congress, compromise, flexibility, that's so important. So, I think that there's a value of that kind of compromise, even though we're doing it with holy stuff. It just shows how important it is. Then 53 gets in the whole idea of shogeg and Maisie doing something on purpose, dedicating a sacrifice on purpose or by mistake, and all that. Lots of fun stuff for next week. I'm not going to do the summary for next week, but lots of sacrifice and stuff. But just one very funny point, 51A, if you dedicated a sacrifice, it's a sin offering, but you haven't sinned yet. So we say, do we say, well, do a sin quickly, and then you'll be able to use that sacrifice? So probably not. But lots of really interesting stuff. And I think we just run out of time.
We are, sorry, looking for the unmute button. We are out of time. Thank you so much. So you pack a lot into half an hour. Always wonderful to spend time with you. Thank you, everybody, for being part of this lightning review. And we will see you in your inbox tomorrow morning and in this space next week. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sukkot, I think tomorrow we have tomorrow we have Hoshana Rabbah, 7th day of Sukkot. Then we have Shmini Atzeret. Then we have Simchat Torah. Lots to celebrate in the next couple of days. If you're in Israel, Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah the same day. But if you're anywhere else, it's 3 days back to back of party and other things. So we will see you on the other end of all of that. Moadim l'simcha, everyone. And we will see you next week. Thank you, Rabbi.
Sameach.
All of you.
Thanks, Dr. Rachel. Chag Sameach. Take care, everybody. Chag Sameach. Bye-bye.